Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here. Sorry. Welcome back, right? So the next speaker is me. So I'll be talking to you guys today about the 10 rules to be a successful technician. So yeah, let's just get right into it, right? Chris, you want to go? Yep, perfect. Bringing me up here. So 10 rules to be a successful technician. This, if you guys were watching yesterday, is a great kind of collab with Austin Jackson. So Austin Jackson gave you the business side of freelancing, and now I'm going to give you kind of the technical side of freelancing, which most of you are probably already doing. So some of these will be kind of just reminders, but some of these will be the things that I've talked to when it comes to labor coordinators, directors, operations managers, in-house AV, kind of what they're always looking for within their technicians. And these are directly from them. I'm also going to give you some information and advice on just how to present yourselves and how to speak and verbal and these little optics that we don't think about sometimes when we're doing stuff, with our friends, with our colleagues, because this is a close-knit community. We do try to stay obviously in a certain circle of people, and because of COVID, a lot of us have grown that, and we've been home a lot. And I myself have not always been the best, right? We've done shows in the past. If you guys have watched our series that aren't always the best, I definitely had an ex-military mindset, and a lot of cursing and dark humor was there. I've had to adjust that a little bit for the online community and also for my friends and stuff, because I don't want to come off as an arrogant or inappropriate guy or MF person. So these are some things that even when I was reading these yesterday, kind of reviewing myself with the deck, that I think are just good to know. So again, if you guys have any questions, I'm monitoring this side as well. I'll try to be chatting with you as well here, but just ask away and I'll answer this real fly. But so rule one, right, is be ready. And I know this sounds kind of redundant here, but be ready at the work at least 15 minutes early. Clients will remember you for being early. I know it sounds a little weird because usually if you're late, you're the guy they remember, but you don't want to be remembered for being late. You don't remember for always being early. And it may not be the first time, right? If I call you and you're a new employee or a new freelancer, and you show up early, I may not notice the first couple of times, but consistently, right? And this is the one of the keys here. Consistently, if I do this, then you become, oh, you know what? Every time I call Omar, he's always on time. Every time I call Justin or Iris, they're always on time, right? Because I know and I have the confidence to say, oh, yeah, no, they're there. I don't have to worry about anything. And this helps you move up the ranks faster, because if you're an on-time person and they need to look for a lead, right? The leads are someone they need to trust to do their job. And if I know, every time I call Chris shows up 15 minutes early, I'm running late. Let me give a call to Chris. He was on site, help me get some stuff ready to go. Now you become that go-to person, right? Now you become the go-to person for your client, for the leads, and as yourself, it ups your reputation a little bit, right? Be prepared is the next thing. Always have your tools ready to make sure you give yourself plenty of time for traffic, parking, and buying food. I know down in South Florida, Miami, what should take 40 minutes takes an hour and a half. I always try to leave my house within an hour, 15 minutes early so I can get down there and avoid traffic. I also have a Sun Pass, and not that I charge my clients for that, but I have a Sun Pass, and I'll try to take the Sun Pass and the E lanes as much as possible. Orlando's like that. New York's got stuff like that. So some of those things are a cost, unfortunately, but they will help you be there on time and just being aware of your environment. If you live in a rural area, or maybe you live in parts of Texas that are kind of outside of the bigger major cities, this isn't much of an issue in some areas like that. But traffic is always an issue. Try to account for that. Don't make excuses about it. Don't be guy number 6 or gal number 6 that said, oh, I'm late because of traffic. Unless there was a major accident, right? And if you were late for that reason, then you're okay. But if you were late because of the normal day-to-day traffic in the neighborhood that you live in, it's a different story. And even worse, if your client has flown from out of town to do this show with you, right? And now you're being brought on the show because you're a local and you know the area, and you're late because of traffic, which they already knew was bad in this area, especially in Miami. People know traffic's horrible down here, so I could never use that as an excuse. But so leaving about an hour and a half early before my job allows me to get there. And what typically ends up happening this way, for me at least, and for what I've noticed with other people, is that I either get there on time, which is 15 minutes early for me, right, and it's thinking military, or I get there right on time, which is the designated call time. And so either way, I'm good, right? Because I'm there before I'm supposed to be there, which is the key to that. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, or I'm sorry. So in addition to rule number 1, I have these instead of try moments, right? So if you guys can read these, I think you can read, right? All right. So instead of partying all night and getting to work sleepy, right? How about try the opposite of that? How about try? Sorry, guys. Give me a second. How about trying getting enough rest for the next day? Instead of leaving your tools to home or in your car, which is another one I want to bring up real quick. The kind of big one, right? You ever been on a job site, and I know you've all experienced, right? And I'm sure you've been that guy yourself, because I've also been that guy. Hey, do you have a C-wrench? Oh, I do, but it's in my car. Okay, then you don't have a C-wrench. It's not on you, and I need it for this. So you don't have a C-wrench because it's in your car. Don't leave it in your car. Get a backpack, get a Pelican case, get a tool bag, get a fanny pack, whatever you have or can get your hands on to bring your tools with you to the job site. Now, for you guys who are like, well, I don't like giving my C-wrench out because I don't feel to give it back, put a cord on it. Wrap it to yourself. Do you need to borrow, or let me do it for you? Or how can I help you? Or just follow up with that person. Hey, let me try to get this back. What's your name? I got it. Okay, let me get it back. Sharpies, different. You might not get that back. Sorry. Sharpies are just a thing. It happens. I love you guys, but it happens. But try to bring all your tools with you to the show site. Instead of working a 10-hour call all night, and again, this I know some of you guys are going to complain, instead of working a 10-hour call all night, coming to tired and sleeping for the next gig, calculate your work schedule to get your best to your clients. And now, I know some of you like to do double booking, things like that. For me personally, I did that at the very beginning of my career, very short, right? I did for me for like 5 to 6 months. I noticed some clients I did very well with, and they because they got the me that was awake and ready to go. And then I may do a double dipping. So I do another 10-hour shift, and then I start off good, but I end bad. And the client's like, oh, that guy was okay. Like he seemed like he was there, but he wasn't really there. And then now I've lost this other potential client, which, yeah, for the day I made more money, but in the long run, I'm losing out. So I recommend don't do that. I try to say if I take a gig, I only do 1 gig a day. I don't do half days either, which is another reason I've implemented this rule in my life. But try not to double book yourself too much. If you are doing half days still for any reason, if you're doing a half day, you get full day rates. Different conversation there, obviously. But try to schedule yourself so you give your client your best foot forward and not the half the foot forward, because they realize those things. And trust me, when there's a lot of you guys, the guy that's not doing it or pulling his weight gets picked on very quickly. The sad reality to what we do, right? And virtual is different now, but the sad reality to what we do is that now, or not even now, but then and now moving forward, there is a person's job, an EIC's job, a producer's job. Their job is to make sure the show is the best it could possibly be. And part of that is looking around and seeing what they can improve. Cables aren't done right, which that sometimes is annoying, right? Cables aren't run correctly. I need you to go back at the end of the show and make these all look pretty. It's literally that guy's job. It makes his value to his job to say these things and have you guys execute these things. The way you set up, the way you run in things, the way you're looking, all these little things get noted and they get talked about, right? Oh, that guy came with a hole in the side of his shirt here and his chest was hanging out and, it was very inappropriate. Or that guy came, he was smelling. So I kept taking him out of here to the other range because we had people walking in and out of the room. So we kept putting him in the breakouts because I couldn't have him around clients when they came in. Things like that get noticed and they get talked about. And unfortunately, that's just part of their job is to notice and talk about those things. And that affects you, which is unfair. I get it. It is what it is. Again, this is the optics of the industry, right? Moving forward here. Little quotes I like to put in here, right? Better to be prepared for no opportunity than to have the opportunity and not be prepared. Just a little quote, help you remember this a little bit more moving forward. Rule number 2, right? Punctuation is key. I'm moving a lot of windows around here, guys. Punctuation is key, right? No one is noticed if you are 30 minutes early, but just get there 10 minutes late and you stand out as late. Stand out for being a great technician, not for being late. Kind of touched on that a little bit. 80% of success is just showing up. Talked about that a little bit as well. I just want to reiterate the punctuality. The punctuality is key on a lot of things that we do, right? Including for virtual, right? Right now, a virtual, how many times have you guys done a virtual event? And we talked about this yesterday and some stuff. How many times have you done a virtual event where you had that timer and that timer went off or didn't go off or it went to 0 and you kept waiting and the chats went to another conversation, or your viewership started to decrease instantly because, hey, you're not ready. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there must be a problem. Well, I'm out of here, right? We know that audio causes this, right? But what about that initial coming into that, right? So again, punctuality is key. This fills into a lot of different scenarios, and we can dive into that a little bit on the next page here. So instead of there was no parking, right? Again, these are issues I'm bringing back from 1 and 2. Instead of there's no parking, I knew there was parking sources that came earlier, right? Again, in Miami, parking is very scarce down here. So usually you got to find a parking garage. It's a little bit away, and then you got to walk. Don't calculate. I have to be there at 8 in the morning I'm going to park at this garage and then walk there. I'll text that I'm running a little late because I got to walk from the garage. Your clients don't care. They're expecting you to be a professional, to show up on time, do what you got to do. Instead of there was an accident on the highway, just in case there was any issues, I always give myself enough time. Again, we spoke about that, right? Instead of too much traffic, leaving home before traffic starts. Again, we spoke about these things. These are just little reminders. Again, me kind of reiterating that things, right? You hear things 3 times, you're more likely to remember it, right? And finally, we'll do a quote. Punctuality is the first step towards success. Big believer in that. Austin also touched on this a little bit. Also talked about oh man, what was the word? Austin spoke about this for a brief second. Sorry, guys. It was with his rule number 1, which kind of coincides with this, right? So again, moving forward, rule number 3, dress code. I know there's a lot of different people who have different opinions of this, but dress code, right? Show blacks. What does that mean? Clean black pants that are in good condition, no holes or noticeable wear and tear. Black polo shirts with no logos during show calls. This might require you to wear long sleeve black dress shirts to cover up visible tattoos. Now, I'll ask questions to the community here, and I'll give it a second. Does anybody know how many tattoos I have? Maybe you see me in person, maybe you see me virtually. Do you know how many tattoos I have on my body? I'm assuming the blank is it. Nobody knows. I have a full side tattoo here, and I have a half sleeve on my arm, which is why I always wear shirts. Dress shirts or something that has a longer sleeve, and we'll roll them up because obviously I don't want to be in long sleeve because it's hot down here in South Florida. But those are the reasons I wear these types of shirts. I also like to dress up in general, so that's another thing. I'm very I guess the word they use is metrosexual, but I'm very dapper in the way I dress. But another reason for that is because when I first started this industry, I was told to be hesitant of the long beards, which has become an acceptable thing now. I was told to be hesitant of the tattoos. So a lot of the tattoos that I got are covered up. I have on my upper back, my whole side, and half my arm here. So again, these are just some things to think consideration of. Do you always need to have a polo? A black shirt will do, black V-neck, black T-neck, as long as it's fitted well to your body. It's not over excessive. I think personally, and it's something that I've noticed when I hire people, that graphic tees never fly with me. It's 50-50. Sometimes it's something cool. It's okay, not a big deal. Other times it's like, yo, that shirt, I wish you wouldn't wear that shirt here because, my client's going to freak out about that, or that's inappropriate, or X, Y, Z. And a lot of times, little things. I have a couple graphic shirts that I own personally that my daughter gave me, and I'll wear those for her. But I don't ever wear them on job site, and nothing's wrong with them. One's like an octopus, one's like world's greatest dad, and another one's like awesome with something. I'll wear those for her. I would never wear them on job site, and I definitely discourage against wearing them on job sites. Yeah. So let's go through some of the if this and that type of scenarios, right? Instead of wearing a shirt and a black t-shirt with a logo, black pants and black polo call a shirt, right? And again, you don't have to wear the polos. I understand that you don't always have to own those things, but there's a saying, like dress for success. And if you present yourself properly, you get, here's an example and I'll give you. How many times do you go on a job site and you see someone wearing khakis? Right. And you instinctively think, oh, this guy must be in charge. I wear khakis all the time to job sites or navy blue pants, and usually a dress shirt like this. And whether I am a stagehand for the day because I'm helping some friends out, whether I'm a producer, technical director, a video engineer, like whatever position I'm in, I usually pretty much wear the same outfit. And I usually always somehow end up being put in some kind of leadership role because I look the part, even though for that particular job, I'm not that position. I'll still take on some of those responsibilities and help delegate stuff to help move the projects forward and move the crews forward. But a lot of the times, because I dress slightly different, I'm getting that perception of this, right? So if you dress a little bit better, you might be considered as the lead hand there, right? And you might be, okay, well, this guy must be who's in charge of the rest of these hands. Let me talk to him, right? And the fact that you're able to give that impression of the optics of that, now you're able to say, okay, well, not even just say, but now the client has your name and face connected, right? And if the show goes good, you do good. Now you're being remembered, right? And now they say, oh, hey, oh my God, Chris, man, come here. This is what I need done. Da, 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 da. You figure it out, and now you become a go-to for that person, right? And again, consistency. The more you do this, the more you show up, the more you have that vibe with that person, and with the crews, the more this kind of reflects to who you are and everything. Wearing regular sneakers, right? Instead of wearing regular sneakers, steel-toed toes for protection, show calls, and wearing dress shoes. I wear dress shoes only if I have to for show days, and they're not all black. I have some leather tan ones. I have a thing with brown and like coffee colors and tan colors, so it's kind of fits my wardrobe. The steel-toe shoes, I'll wear those for if I do arena stuff or concert stuff. I have 2 pairs of those, so I have a little more shoes than normal, yeah, but I like to be prepared for different scenarios. I have a pair of steel-toe boots that are lugs that were a little pricey, but I used to do a lot of stuff at the Marlins Stadium, and they have that clay, that brown clay stuff that gets on everything and just destroys everything. So those shoes were just for that scenario, and it worked out great. And they can get messy and dirty, and it didn't matter to me because they were only for there, and they were always outdoor events, and there was always a lot of trussing going on and moving parts. So I always like to be protected on that part. But for ballroom stuff, I'll wear sneakers or gym shoes. If I'm involved with the lighting team or anything like that, or anything with projection or trussing, I might wear my other boots that I have, which are Polo Ralph Lauren boots, which have steel toe. They're kind of a little more form-fitting, a little more dressy, not heavy-duty looking, but they still add the protection that I need without looking super sloppy. But I have seen guys show up on social site with shoes with holes in them, shoes with tape on them. And I no disrespect to any of that, and I know you're hustling, you're making your things work. If you're doing that route because you have to, make it as presentable as possible. But your feet are important. Your feet are hugely important, right? You walk with them. You have to use them to get up. You have to use them for stability. Your feet are very important. And coming from a guy with a degree in kinesiology, my first degree years ago, everything, the kinetics of the body starts at the feet all the way up. So your feet are majorly important. Take care of them. Highly recommend it. If anything you take away tonight, I highly recommend always taking care of your feet, because that is the chain that starts for the rest of your body on the way up. Every pain and aches you can have can be correlated to the way you stand, the way you your hips are aligned, the way everything joins together starts at the bottom with the feet. I can't stress that enough. Anyways, instead of not showering and wearing unwashed clothes, try smelling good and dressing like a tech. So I won't dive into that too much. I know every is different. I've had my own scenarios where I've had to do an overnighter, and it is what it is. Try your best not to do that, or have a spare set of clothes. Something I do for the military is I have a spare set of clothes in the car, so I may not smell the best the next day, but at least I'm still dressed well, right? And it's because I have 2 outfits that I keep in my car at all times. A way to do that is just when you go buy new clothes, maybe you have a set of outfit that you haven't been wearing too much because you've fallen out of favor with it. Me personally, I'm kind of like a Steve Jobs. I have like 5 of these shirts. I got this literally the same brand, same color, about 6 for the pants, khakis, navy blues, and jeans. They're all the same brand. They're all Goodfella, and they're all the same exact. And I just wake up and I want to wear this color with this color. And then I have some Dockers that I was wearing at the time that I swapped out for the Goodfella because they were a little more comfortable. I put 2 pairs of Dockers and 2 pairs of these dress shirts that didn't have these pockets, which I've grown accustomed to, in my backpack in my car as a spare outfit. And then, utilities and things like that. A dope bag to have some stuff in there just in case is in my bag as well. And that just stays in the car. And whenever it comes out that needs it, I need it. And I also have 1 outfit because, again, if you guys ever do a show outside and you weren't told about it and it's hot, you might be able to wear a hat or a shirt. I have a polo shirt that has the holes on the side for like golfing to keep it cooler. And then I have a pair of shorts in there as well to swap out my pants for shorts if I have the opportunity to. And I know it's going to be an outdoor event. I'll ask my client, and if they agree to it, I'll go change real quick, come back, and be a little more comfortable so I can work more effectively. Those are, again, my 2 cents. So going forward, you cannot climb the ladder of success in the outfit of failure. I'll leave that as it is. All right, rule number 4, language. And this one is going to get, we're going to dive into this, all right? So language, always watch your language in the work site. Never assume that you're alone. I'll give you a prime example. When I used to be the director of the Fountain Blue years ago with a company called SAV before they were bought over by somebody else, we had a show we were doing multi-show. Was probably one of our bigger shows that we landed. And what ended up happening is that we got the GS and the breakouts. I had a great team in place. Myself, Jack Hope, and Domingo, Cindy, Lisa were amazing salespeople. We did a great presentation. We won this whole show, flawless show. The only problem I had was that in the smaller GS upstairs, there was a disgruntled tech. Not about anything in particular, just one of those people that curses a lot and is just very negative about a lot of things. And the client at some point had walked in there without any of us just to see what was going on. And they immediately came back to us and said, what's going on here? Why are these people cursing and yelling in the ballroom? What happened? I had to go through and figure out what was going on. And I immediately knew who he was talking about once I heard the story. And it was kind of one of those scenarios where, like, he's not upset about anything in general. He's just upset in general, and we have a lot of those in the industry. Me, myself, at times can be the same. Very theorizes about possibilities of the government couldn't be doing and what they're hiding and aliens and things like that. Just one of those type of guys that, has a very vocal opinion about those things and how you need to see it as well. You need to be woke because you don't see the conspiracy theories going on around you. And he's very negative about it. So that's a scenario where the language he was using wasn't reciprocated properly to our client. To the crew, it was a fun banter conversation and kind of like, whatever, bro. Like, yeah, you don't got a phone. That's so crazy. But to the client, it was a different type of scenario. And it became something at the address, ended up asking him to leave the property because she was very concerned about what was being spoken about. Reputation, make sure you remember that you represent your client and yourself. You are your own business. Austin spoke about this a lot and kind of really dove into this a little bit. The only thing I'll add to that is that we need to remember as freelancers that when we are hired by our clients, we're also hired by their clients. And what I mean by that is that if I'm working for Austin, right? Austin has a certain perception of what I'm doing, but his main goal is that Omar's going to show up on time, Omar's going to do his job that I've hired him for, and Omar's going to represent me in a good manner. Yes. Now, when I go to that job site, whether it's in a hotel or whether it's with the client, I also have to represent their needs, right? And I may not know that off the bat, but these 10 rules pretty much will keep you in the good range. The only thing that's trickier is when it comes to some of the hotel properties is that you might have to sometimes dress a certain way or present yourself a certain way. There's certain hotels that are very strict about the, don't tell clients no. You have to learn to reword those things. And the way you speak and the way you act and the way you are able to answer questions can change a lot in how you say yes or no to something. And hotels is very, they've mastered that kind of lingo. And it's very fun to learn it. I really recommend, if you guys can learn how to do that, is saying no without saying no is a very good little trick. But it takes some mastering to do it, and hotels have gotten really good at that. So again, your reputation is a big deal. But when you're being hired by somebody, if it's not directly to that client, you represent that person and their client. And you need to figure out what that is. And sometimes being the guy that's a little bit more quiet and just more observant is all it takes to really figure out what the vibe is of the end client, to understand whether that some of the things you do will be or will not be expected. Because I've also had the other end where I've had clients who are just totally night and day, free spirited, open, like, whatever you guys want, blah, blah, blah. Here's coffee, here's some colada in the morning, bro. Get to think of some of this. And then, don't worry about it. Let's go to the back. We'll drink a beer. I've done some, like the picture here from Art Basel, our client there was totally great guy, super understanding, super relaxing. And, you guys did great. Here's some red. And we're like, oh, you sure? He goes, I'm drinking it too. Don't worry. As he's popping this for us, I'm drinking too. And I was like, oh, cool, man. I've had the opposite where it's like, excuse me, sir, you need to be dressed right dress, and you got to sit here and you listen to what I tell you. Okay. You just got to read the room sometimes. So let's go into this, right? Instead of saying in front of the client, we're getting to overtime. We're here to help you until we finish, right? Yes, expressing the money side of things is a good thing, but also let the client know that it's not a money thing. It's we want to help you. I want you to also know the full extent of it, right? And a lot of times, let the producers or the technical director or whoever's in charge, if you handle that money conversation, your job is just to make sure you are being as helpful as possible. And sometimes even changing verbiage from saying, hey, how can I help you, to, hey, how can I assist you, right? Because if I say, can I help you? It's like, oh, you need my help because you're unable to, right? Versus how can I assist you? It's more of an opening conversation saying, oh, okay, well, I could use a little bit of help for this, right? If you say I can help you, it's like, I don't need help. I got it, bro. I'm not, I got it. Sometimes those little verbiage changes can make a difference to our clients. Instead of we're charging penalty for extra hours, speak with your leads and remind them of the time. Sometimes it just takes that, right? Hey, by the way, just so you know, we're at the 5-hour mark. If you're in Union House, right? We are 2.5. We take a 15-minute break and then we come back. After 10 hours, we do this. Or if you're in California, after 8 hours, it's this. Sometimes when we travel a lot, we forget those things. And sometimes the people that are leads forget those things, and they just need to be talked to in an open manner. Like, hey, by the way, the cruise, just so you know, and just be open about those. Be transparent. Don't be sneaky or don't be like mischievous about it. Just be clear and direct, because that is the best approach when it comes to some of these things. Instead of I had to leave early because I have another gig, right? Which again, we talked about earlier. I have to leave early because I have another gig, which is a total killer. Like, it makes me not want to hire that person anymore. Schedule yourself accordingly. Don't double book and or compromise anybody's time, right? If I booked you for this time slot, I expect to have you for this time slot, right? If I go over, which may not be my fault, it may be some other fault or outside element, or the truck didn't arrive on time, or the set piece took longer to build, or the third-party company that came in didn't execute it properly. Some things that are out of my control, I don't want to lose you because of that. Now, again, is that an ultimate rule? No, of course not. Things happen, things come up, emergencies happen, but for you to leave to go to another gig when I had you for the day, and again, I'm sure the comments will say a little bit differently on this. These are my thoughts, but these are things that people remember. Like, oh, this guy, once or twice, okay, but this guy constantly, every time I put him on a 10-hour gig, he wants to leave at the 8th hour to go somewhere else because you got to include, you didn't schedule enough time for you to drive to that location and be there on time. Or when does it happen too sometimes, right? Now you get a little bit over, you do your 10 hours, and now you're trying to drive to the next location, but you didn't factor that into your time framing, and now you're like, hey, I gotta leave, what's going on, let's get this done. Like, what? I don't need to rush, bro. I'm on a 10-hour call. I'm here to do the work, but you gotta leave early because you gotta run across town. Like, that's not my fault. So again, things to think about. The art of communication is the language of leadership. I myself need to work on this. Obviously, I'm not the best, but I try to be as communicative as possible. Obviously, I could do it better. Austin and Clem, if you guys saw the presentation, did an amazing job. They speak very well. It definitely just gives you that sense of these guys are in leadership roles because they are the person. Rule number 5, networking. And this was a little bit different, right? The most important rule is to network with your peers in good faith and help each other. This one rule will help you learn new things and meet new clients. By doing this alone, your knowledge and rate will increase drastically. Just this, all right? And here's some examples I give here, right? LinkedIn, create a professional profile and network with your peers all around the globe. LinkedIn, if you guys aren't on LinkedIn, you should be on there already. I'm always surprised when I meet someone who isn't on LinkedIn. If you guys have looked up my LinkedIn, if you looked up Ed's LinkedIn, it's an impressive resume. It instantly tells you the commitment we've had to the industry and what's going on. And I can just go to 2 examples because I looked at them recently. But LinkedIn is a great way to just real quickly give people an overview of who you are, what you can do, and what you can't do. And when clients meet you or work with you, they look for that stuff. They look you up. If you were part of the recruiting event that just happened yesterday, and for the ones that are happening today, the recruiters looked you guys up. And if you were on LinkedIn, you give them a great head start and they had a confidence coming in. If you weren't on LinkedIn, you might have been asked more questions, more depth to figure out who you really are and what you can't do. And also LinkedIn has a great way for you to get feedback from your peers and your clients to make sure that they can see that, hey, I've worked with this guy before. Oh, he says he's a good person. Cool. Let me get him on board. Instagram, create a profile of gigs. This helps future clients get to know you and the type of work you do. Now, Instagram is tricky, right? We all have NDAs that we do for shows, and some shows we don't. Some shows our clients have NDAs that we don't sign, but we fall under their NDA. So this one can be a little tricky, and I'm always hesitant to offer it. However, Instagram is huge for me. I use it all the time, and I post about a lot of things I do. Even this, I've posted behind the scenes about what's going on here for our summit between myself and Chris, setups, and we posted those publicly. And that's easier, right? Because Chris and me are more open in sharing of our stuff, but some clients are not. And but here's what I've realized. If you wait till after the show, or if they have a hashtag or something like that and you see people posting it, that kind of opens up the window for you to post it. And another thing is, don't tag Dell, Microsoft, Facebook, and don't tag who your end client is. Tag who hired you. Tag the OPAVs, the media stages, the AV Educates, the I mean, you name it. You could drop, I'm sure, a bunch of them in here, but you name a company you work for, just put them in there. Oh, did a great event with, with Proxy AV this weekend. Thanks for having us. Did a great event with Ask Media, right? Because that is way more valuable to not only yourself as a freelancer, but also to that company. Because now, like, oh man, this guy's representing us, and he's doing a good job, and he's got this whole cool. And the other thing too is, if I want to look you up and see what you've done, that's a great way to see it, right? Right? How do you prove what we've done? Sometimes it's hard, right? And even with some of the pictures we do, they don't do it justice, right? Like some of this virtual stuff we're doing, you take a picture of what you got, it kind of explains what's going on, but not fully. But how do you prove to a client you've done any of this stuff if you don't have any proof, right? And that's what you always need it, because sometimes, hey, I have ideas, I can't. But at the same token, if they could see something in a reference real quickly to say, oh, you know what? Okay, he's got the skills, or I've seen him do shows like this. Or you know what? I did a show your size. Yeah, here's a couple pictures. Oh, okay, cool. So you do this all the time. Got it. And then the last thing is resumes, digital PDF resumes, so you can email to everyone. This isn't a killer. If you have a LinkedIn account, you can go from your LinkedIn account and you can print out your own resume, which will be your LinkedIn account and PDF form. And then you can even put a link back to that so that it's the most current one. It would be what's on LinkedIn. You can also create just a small template, which you can get offline. Literally type in resume templates with a picture of yourself, your contact information, a little brief description of who you are, your last couple of job stuff. And then you can say, hey, if you want to learn more about certifications, awards, colleagues, networks, who you speak to, who you worked with, what societies or memberships you're a part of, follow my LinkedIn account here. And for myself, I have a bunch of military awards. I have a bunch of certifications. I update these all on LinkedIn. I think the newest one I just got was the new tech one, which I haven't updated yet, but that would be put on LinkedIn. And then the resume that I'd update every year would just say that, and that's always good if a client's new and doesn't know who you are, and they just want a quick kind of recap of who you are other than just word of mouth. You can just send that real quick without even them asking for it. Just saying, hey, I'm glad to be working with you. Here's my resume in case you want it. And then that would link to your other stuff so they can get a better visual of who you are. And usually you taking the initiative to do that, I find gets a better result than you waiting for it to be asked. Because then at that point, either they're already uncertain of you, or they've heard something that makes them worried about it, and that's what they want to now re-verify you, versus if you do it the other way, you come forward from the beginning. Then when people say like, oh, yeah, but I looked at his resume, or oh, I looked at this and he seemed to be good, they might defend you a little bit because they've already done the research on you, versus when it comes after the fact and they've already have something in their mind, right? Someone's chirping negativeness might already be there. It might be now they're looking at that with a scrutiny, right? Oh, did he do that show? He's taking credit for this. Oh, this guy was on that show. Let me call him. Because remember, we're small in this community. Anyways, let me move on forward. So instead of spending time on social media, build your business on professional platforms. This one is super hard because I do both, right? But it's the truth. Instead of watching TV and wasting time, which I don't watch TV, getting all your images together from your gigs and building a profile. If you guys haven't noticed, or if you've been thinking about it, this PowerPoint, every single image in here is from a show that I've done personally over the last 10 years. And I've utilized them for this. I have a Google Drive, a Google Photos. All my photos are in there. They're organized. Once in a blue moon, I'll go in there and move to work. And then when I need stuff, I go to my library of stuff and I pull from that. Majority of what you see in AV Educate is all videos from shows that I've done, or Ed has done, or Dees has done, or Chris has done. So I have a little bit more now. Some of it has been shared by the community. Some of it I've asked for from the community. Some of the stuff you've seen, but majority of it is all content that I've somehow, somewhere taken a picture of it with my own personal camera time. Instead of soliciting work at a gig from a client that is doing business with the company that you work for, try being loyal to the company that hires you. There's a correct way to network. So this one's a little bit tricky. Yes, this is how you network essentially, is by getting on job sites to meet new people. To do that, usually what I find works better is that if you are just personable and you are an assist, and this client particularly sees you enough times, right, or you builds a good repertoire with you, and the people around you speak good of you, if that client comes to you directly and asks you for your information, you're not breaking any rules, you're not doing anything wrong. If you go to that client and you start soliciting yourself to that client, right, to your client's client, because you think you could do the job better, or you think XYZ, that you're crossing some lines there and it doesn't look good on the site, right? Especially if you're being hired for someone to do a job and now you're there trying to take their job from them. I'm not going to want to hire you again, right? And not even that, but now your peers are seeing this, right? Your colleagues are seeing, oh man, you brought Omar on board, dude. That guy's always trying to sell himself to people. That's not how you do it, right? That just doesn't look right. It doesn't fall well with people. So be cautious of this. Just do your best at what you do. be sociable, be hospitable, be an assist, right? Always be there to help out and give a helping hand. And people that will want to work with you, they'll come to you and ask you. And that moment is when you want to do that, because it's become, okay, well, the client came to him directly. No one's at fault there. Like, he did such a good job and he is such a good person that he should be getting that opportunity. Those little differences make a difference in the opportunity world. I'll either say the opposite of networking is not working. And what I mean by that is just putting yourself out there, right? For anybody who's watching right now, if you ever want to be a part of the AV Tech Talks or the AV podcast with us, just send us a message, right? Just send us a message, and we will 99% of the time put you up, because we're creating a platform for you to be elevated on. And that's the whole point of what we're doing here, right? And that's part of putting the work in, right? Is getting your name out there, putting your face out there, not only with your peers, but also your colleagues. And there's always business people watching these things, looking out for the next people. We've had a lot of talks behind the scenes about different people, right? And Nina, for example, came on a talk with us, came into our show, did some stuff with us, talked about a couple of things, and she has a job now, full-time job in New York, not fully because of us, but because she was at the right place at the right time, kind of working and networking. There's other people like that as well who have been part of the AV community and gotten work from it. I myself obviously benefited. I've gotten work from it because I do all this virtual stuff. I've been seen as a guy who knows how to do what's going on. Chris as well has benefited from being a part of the show. He's done a lot of virtual things. He came in, does vMix, learned it with us, experimented with us, did the Zoom with us, and get to work now full time down here in South Florida doing that. So putting the work in, getting yourself out there a little bit sometimes, utilizing the community that you're with and seeing how they can also benefit from each other is really all part of the whole networking game. And we've been doing this on steroids since COVID, and it's been a little bit of a game changer. But most of you that are watching here probably didn't know about AV Educate prior to that, and most of you that are with us today, thank you for being here with us. I appreciate it. But AV Educate is a continuing, growing, and evolving kind of beast of its own. And I'm just trying to make sure that we are giving back to you guys, and that's the way we network here, right? Is we give back and we connect, and it's how I get to learn, how you get to learn, and it's a win-win scenario for everybody, which is really what I always try to do, is I always create a win-win scenario. So moving forward, rule number 6, take pride in your work. Care about your work, make sure everything looks show ready for the client. And some of those things we talked about earlier, right? Cable management, right? Running the cables neatly, running your tech table very neatly, right? I myself, before the show started, I destroyed my tires table and redid it. So those pictures you saw was not how my video was set up originally for when I do the AV Tech Talks on Monday nights. It was just my monitor's here, this is over here, I got some gear in the corner over here, whatever. But for this, I wanted to be set up so that I was comfortable, and I call the Starship configuration, right? So this is me, the viewer, everything needs to come out this way. So I have a monitor right here to monitor you guys to see if things going on. I have emails here to see what's going on. I have 3 monitors here to see what's going on. This is my Starship, right? But my cable management is all very neatly running down to the back, and it's very clean for me. But if a client came in here and saw this, right, they would not be overwhelmed by all these random cables. The other thing too about taking pride in your work is also when you take pride in your work, you take extra steps, right? I'm sorry, let me slow it down a little bit. You take extra steps. One of the extra steps you take sometimes is labeling cables, right? Sometimes you're rushing to do something, and you might just say, okay, take output 1 to projector 1, and output 2 to projector 4, and output 3 to projector 5, and then you forget, right? Because you're just, whatever. Now, if you take pride in your work, right, and I'm just giving you a scenario here, but if you take pride in your work, right, you may be like, don't run any of these cables yet. Go ahead and get some tape, some gaff. Label this projector 1 on both ends of this cable, and then come out of output 1 and go to projector 1. Label the next one and do XYZ. Or just say, get me 400-foot SDI cables, right? Label them what I need, and I'll plug them in. Just plug 1 to projector 1. If it's a double stacked, the bottom one is 2. Those 2 will be 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6. And just run them down in here and leave them on the floor, and I'll plug them in for you. Now, that's me taking pride in my work, right? I'm letting the hands, which are assisting me, kind of help me a little bit here. But what also is doing is that now when something goes wrong and I have that plethora of cable, that spaghetti on the ground, right? I'm able to now troubleshoot, right? Hey, I don't have anything on 1. Okay, well, I see 1's plugged in here. Let's go run it over there. Okay, it's plugged in over there. Okay, so we know the connecting points are good here. So what's going on? Okay, well, let me go back in the system here. Oh, I see it. It's on my fault. I got it, guys. if you run longer cables and you have a coupler in place, right? Usually those couplers right at the end will say what's to what cable is going to what cable. Another quick way, hey, let's check the coupler. I remember that one had a coupler on it. These little things, which take a little bit more time, show that you have pride in your work, right? And two, help you when it comes to down the road, right? When something goes wrong, you're now able to do that better. And that to me is what's part of taking pride in what you do, right? Is just taking the extra step to really, not just throw everything around and just, okay, here's my 8-amp, throw it on the table, here's a monitor, throw it here, just plug all this stuff in and good to go, right? Like anybody can do that, right? What's the next level to show that when someone sees me and how I work and how I operate, like, oh, this guy takes pride in what he's doing. This guy's, he's ready to go, the way you dress, the way you operate, the way you present yourself, the way you present how you do your work. Those are all things about pride, about taking to your work. So let's go on to the two scenarios, right? Instead of when are we going home, right? Here's an example for when you're stagehand. When are we going home? Try looking around and seeing anything that needs to be taped up. There's different markets, and I'm from the Miami market, so I'll speak for my market. In my market, it's very much like the military. You all go home together. No one gets let go early. You go to Central Florida. It's a little bit different there. We call it white gloving sometimes, but you get done with your job and you and your department can go home. That doesn't fly too well. And a lot of times what I see is when the team kind of works together, especially when you're on the road, if the team works together from start to finish, there's just a camaraderie there that just you don't get the other way around, right? If the audio guys are always up and running and they're always done on time, and I'm just using audio as an example here, because sometimes it's lighting, sometimes it's video, but you lose that connection. And then when it's time to go out afterwards and socialize and like that, you're like, these guys, fuck them because they left me early. Sorry. But things like that happen. And just being able to work together and finish stuff. And even if you had the option, you stay to help that team out, you've now raised your value to that person. You think, oh man, this guy helped us out even though he didn't have to. Shit, it's my boy, and then they'll take care of you down the road. Instead of disappearing in the bathroom, which it happens a lot, right? Instead of disappearing in the bathroom, try asking the client or your lead what else needs to be done. So instead of like, hey, you finished your task, one of the things that I always find that I appreciate, especially when I'm a lead on a show, is I really, really dislike when I tell someone to do something and then in my mind, I'm expecting them to come back and ask me for the next step. And they just disappear and they start doing something else because I didn't give them all these steps. But on the flip side, I didn't give them all these steps because I wanted to make sure they executed the one properly. We tested it, and then we went to the next one because if I gave them a whole laundry list of things, right, they may not get them all done, and then I'm having to backtrack what did get done. It's kind of, and here's an example I can give you, and I'm sure some of you have experienced this, right? If you go to a restaurant and you give an order, right, is there always this little nervousness when they don't have that pen and paper, right? Because they have really good memory, and you're like, yeah, I want to get da-da-da, and then you make some changes, and you're like, man, I hope they got the order right because they didn't write anything down. Versus that person has the pen and paper and they're writing stuff down, right? You never think that. You think, can I change from medium rare to rare? Can I get the 18 instead of the 12 steak? And can I get broccoli instead of potatoes, right? And you see them write it down. Oh, cool, they got it, right? They disappear, your food comes back. You never think about that. But when they don't write it down, you always have in the, oh man, I did a lot of changes. Did they get that right? And then your order comes back wrong or, whatever the case is. That's a similar scenario I can give you guys when it comes to that stuff. So if you're a hand and you're assisting somebody, once you get done with the task, come back and ask, hey, anything else I can help with? If not, then go to the next person and see if they need help, right? And again, if you end up talking to all the leads and they all say they don't need help, start picking up. Start cleaning up the area. Start picking it up, making it look nice. Start taping things down. Start cleaning up a little bit here and there. Addressing things up, pipe and drape. It doesn't just start dressing them up. Do what needs to happen eventually, right? You may not always have to do that, but that's the next step to get done anyways. Like, I'm just gonna start doing this now. Dressing here, dressing there. Those things will be noticed. And then finally, instead of taking pictures of yourself at the event and posting it on social media, which I'm not the best at sometimes, create a profile of what you did at the event. Again, you guys saw the picture we've posted about this. There's no selfie of me, right? I'm not doing this and like, hey, what's up? I'm not doing that stuff. Do some guys do that? 100%. More power to them. In my impression, right, it's your page. It's your page. It's I already know it's you, right? It's got your name on it. If I see your face there, I get it. Cool. I'm glad to see you're doing good. I'm glad to see that smile. I'm glad to see everything's going great. But if I see every picture the picture of you. Every picture at the show has got you in it, and the gear. Bro, I know. Now, if the pictures of your page and you're posting and you did a show and you show me the gear, oh shit, what's up? What happened here? Let me check this out. Let me see this. It's a little bit different vibe. And again, that's just personal. But as well, the reason I say this is because there's also clients who they see that stuff and they don't like it, right? Like, oh, this guy's always doing selfies. He's too busy. He's too involved in himself. And again, it's an opposite things. So again, I'll move forward here with the last thing for you guys, a little quote there. Every job is a self-portrait of the person who did it. Autograph your work with excellence. I'll leave that there for a second. I see the chats have been going off here. So again, I'm gonna leave this up here for a second. And I just want to read what some of you guys are saying here real quick. So I'm gonna leave that up there for a second. If you disagree with this quote, by the way, let me know. Very big fan of this quote. Got it. So I see Justin, I see Alex, I see Iris, I see Ed here. I'm going to catch up with one of these afterwards. But anyway, so let's keep going here, right, guys? We got about a couple more minutes here. So rule 7, right? Knowledge shared is power multiplied. Know your world. Make sure you have a working knowledge of each department. And what I mean by that is I don't need you to be a master of video, audio, and lighting. That's never going to happen, right? Master one field, become the best at that, right? And become good assists at the other ones, right? I am a great video engineer. I can do a lot of things in video. I can't do everything, but I can do a really good amount of it. And so I get called being ASC a lot of times for a lot of shows I do. Now, when it comes to audio, I can kill a breakout room. You put me in a breakout room for audio, I got you. The mics will be good. I'll EQ the hell out of that room. I'll make sure the speakers sound great. Now, you put me in the GS for audio, I'm not the guy. That line array, no idea. You want to build it? I got you. I can help you build it. I can get you the angles. I can tie it down for you. I can run it up. If you got PowerCon, I can help you with that. I can get it run correctly. I can label it. I can put it to your, if you're using acoustic stuff, so I got you. You want me to program that? I'm not the guy, right? You need the lead guy for that. But I'm a good assist, right? Same thing with lighting. You want me to put the addresses in there? You want me to hang it on there? You want me to space them out? You want me to focus it? Get into the right spot? I got you. You want me to run cables for you? I got you. Optical split in the roof? Got it. Cables are doing what? Got you. You want me to run the board? Not the guy. Nope, not me. But I know enough to help out in those departments, right? And that's what I mean by being know your worlds, right? Know all these worlds, know these departments, know the skill sets that it takes to do them, and know your limits, right? I'm very, very video focused. I always sell myself as a video guy. I have clients who will call me and say, hey, can you do this? I'm not the guy. I can help, right? You need an assist for that guy? I got you. You need an L2 to help you with this show, and you just want to work with me because you like working with me? Cool, great. As an assistant for your show, I'll be there. Cool, man. I'm the L2 or the A2, not lead positions there. B1, though, I'm the dude. What you got? What's going on? And I get calls like that. And I'll tell you, because I'm comfortable in all of the departments, right, including carpentry and frou-frou and all those things, because that's where I came in first. I came in doing frou-frou, pipe and drape, and staging and carpentry. My father's also a carpenter. I went from that to video. I'm very comfortable in a lot of these departments. But I know my limits, and my limits is at those top tier levels, and I don't try to play them, and I don't try to learn them or master them because I don't want more work doing those things. I want to be useful to my clients, and I have clients who call me like, hey, I really want you on the show. I don't have a video position, but can you do this position? I got you. You need me to be like an A2 that's miking up people? Cool. RF side may not be the best guy for it, but if it's something small, 8 of them maybe, and your A1 guy's going to give me all the frequencies I need to know, I can do that for you, no problem. Those conversations do happen. And my clients know that, and they know I'm comfortable up to a limit, and I'll be open to them about it. And that's what I mean just by knowing your departments. So let me just move forward here. So instead of, sorry, I can only do audio, I'm not a video guy, I'm more proficient in audio, but I can do video as well. And what I mean by that is don't fake it till you make it sometimes. Sometimes just be strictly honest, and that'll help you get that call back, because there are a lot of that in the industry. There's a lot of that. And if you go that route and you don't step up to it and succeed, you're instantly put at the bottom of the list or on the blacklist. Like, oh, this guy said he could do this. He fucked up. He's gone, right? Versus, hey, I don't know it too well, but if you want to give me a shot, I'll help you out. Now, whether you do good or bad, the client's already, okay, well, he's learning it, right? If you do good, oh man, he did great. I'm gonna put him on the next one, right? You do bad, okay, he wasn't ready for that yet, but I'm not gonna dismiss him because he told me that, right? So again, you're protecting yourself. Instead of holding yourself back and remaining a basic stagehand, try expanding your education on or off by following AV Educator, right? So we are constantly teaching you guys. We have a platform on YouTube. We have a platform on Facebook. They constantly is giving you knowledge, right? And we're not charging for it, and we're just giving it away all the time. There's replays of all these things. Just sit down, put it in the background, put it in your ear, and just tune in and listen to it. There's a visual side of it, which I think you really need, but I understand it's not always possible. And there's also an interactiveness that we provide, right? Which is that live back and forth Q&A session that we do essentially. And then there's the part that we try to just get your questions answered, because we didn't like kind of what the starter was, is that we didn't like the whole constant one-way conversation that always happened, right? We wanted it to be more fluid, and so that people could ask questions when they came up, because sometimes, person one and person two don't understand or learn the same things, and their experiences are different, right? And how do you bridge that gap a little bit? And the way to do that is by letting questions being asked and answered as they're coming to you. And we tried really hard to do that, and we still do try to do that. But obviously, you guys are getting busy right now, and the community is changing a little bit. So it's been an interesting thing to watch. But anyways, yeah. So moving on. Instead of fake it till you make it, right? Try be honest with your clients. They will be more inclined to trust you and help you. Again, I gave that example a little bit earlier. I should not have reviewed this at all because I'm getting ahead of myself. But you guys get what I'm saying here. Being honest will get you much further. And I'm sure a bunch of you can comment on that, where you've had clients that you were honest with, and it's gotten you more working down the road because they trust what you're going to say, and they trust in your abilities and what you can and can't do. And I think that's major when it comes to building a positive relationship with your client, is them having the trust that when they call you for either information or help or for work, they're calling you because you are a resource to them, not an expense. Knowledge will give you the opportunity to make a difference. All right, rule number 8. I'll start rushing through this. I know I'm taking up too much time. So rule number 8 is communication. Make sure you find out everything you need to know for your upcoming gig. I know this isn't always possible. The more information you get, the better. The more you get pre-pro, the more you can get ready for your stuff, right? I'm a little bit of a fan of not asking for a ton of stuff. I like to figure it out on site. I like to see how quickly my brain can do things. With virtual, though, I'm the complete opposite. I need to know as much information as possible ahead of time. I need to be asked a bunch of questions so I can figure out a bunch of solves. And I'm a big fan of that myself. But for live, I love the puzzle, right, of figuring out what we're going to do. And sometimes just knowing I'm going to be doing a video engineer, I'm going to be with X amount of cameras, and me going on something, okay, how am I going to execute this, is what really excites me about this industry so much, is that puzzle of like, how am I going to make this happen? Because this is what the outcome at the end is, and I need to make that work within this time frame. So instead of no call, no show, right? And we're going back to the freelancer. Instead of no call, no show, giving sufficient time for you or your client to find a replacement. And what this is talking about here is that when you're a freelancer and you're new to the industry, right? You're a fresh stagehand, or even maybe you guys need a runner sometimes. Don't call out last minute. If you have a problem coming on, be transparent. Again, this is that whole being honesty part, right? Let them know, hey, I may have to do X, Y, Z. What can we do or whatever, right? Or if you have to bail out of a show, don't just say, hey, I can't do your show these dates anymore. Like, don't just leave your client hanging. Say, hey, I can't do your show, but I've talked to XYZ person. They could do it for you, if that works. I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm giving you another option. Okay. Instead of showing up in show blacks and it was a outside gig, short stay, pack an extra clothes, which we talked about at the beginning, right? So I'll skip over that one. Instead of calling that you haven't gotten paid, find out the pay schedule for the client. This was kind of a big one. I won't dive too deep into this because I know we're running out of time, but this was kind of big here. So when it comes to pay, this is kind of like a scary situation, right? Because you want to be public about this because you don't want to be backroom deals or backroom conversations. We need to talk about these things. However, the way we talk about these things is what's important. So if you have a client that hasn't paid you, reach out to them first. Okay. Don't go on social media, blasting them on social media, because that puts a bad taste in everybody's mouth, right? Don't go on to a public forum and blast them on a public forum, because that, again, puts a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Because now as an end client, I'm hesitant to hire you because now, if I don't pay this kind of time for some whatever, he might blast me over here, and it might even be, it might be something irrelevant. I will say, being on the other end of this, right? And this is why I say it this way. Being on the other end, I've had employees try to blast social media. They didn't send an invoice. They completely forgot. Or they were used to, they had just transitioned from stagehand to engineer, right? Or that the more lead position, direct to client, right? And they're used to not doing that, and they just didn't do it, and they assumed. So you didn't get paid because you didn't send us anything, so we didn't keep track of you. Another scenario I've seen is where they didn't communicate with the end client. And again, this happens on both sides, and I'm sure some of you can relate. You reached out to the end client, you called, you text, nothing, right? You went above their head, maybe to the next person in line, the number you got, still nothing. You sent emails out, still nothing. At that time, listen, you've gone all your routes, okay? There are legal things you can do now. You can go to court if the money's high enough. You can go to a small claims court and fight for that. Get legal involved to really put that foot forward for you, really make them communicate. If they don't, right, there's something there. The other fact you can do is you can sell again, if it's high enough, you can sell it to a creditor, let the creditor take care of it. You get your money. You get an agreement that you get your money when they get their money. And then there's something said about that. Now, both options, however, put a bad light, right? But at least it's behind closed doors. No one knows about it. The social media side of that should be a last resort. If you got paid 6-8 months, you tried to contact this client, you tried multiple avenues, you had a lawyer reach out to them, nothing. All right, different conversation there. But I'm very hesitant to just say, don't talk about it, because obviously do talk about it, make it a conversation. But the way we do this needs to be done in a way that's fair for everybody, because sometimes there's just things that don't line up. And there's tons of reasons. I gave you one a little bit earlier. Another one could be that they didn't get paid on time yet, so they haven't been able to pay you. Your client should communicate that with you. If they don't, maybe they've been embarrassed like that. Going to the office too sometimes and just getting like a face-to-face. Trying to be as not proficient, but as that's the word I'm looking for, as due diligence as you can before putting someone on social media blast, because that could also be detrimental to your career. And last thing here, a good relationship starts with good communication, which definitely talked about that there. Definitely good communication on both ends, your end and the client's end. All right, almost done here, guys. Sorry. So rule number 9, building relationships. Clients prefer to work with people that they know and get along with, right? We've talked about this the entire summit so far. It's been mentioned numerous times. I won't dive into it too much into this. Instead of waiting to get a call for work, send them a monthly availability report to know when they can call you. I will send you a template and availability report in your emails tonight that you guys will have, including some other elements that you should have received if you haven't received them already, which is called an availability report. You literally just put in days you're working. At the end of the month, send it to your client. Say these are open dates. And does the two things. One, it keeps your name in your client's ear, right, constantly. And two, it shows them, okay, because your clients always have work, right? They're always doing pre-stuff for upcoming jobs, and they always have current jobs. But if I get an email from you and you have these available dates, and I'm working on a show, I'm like, you know what? Chris is on my mind right now. Chris, can you do X? Okay, cool. Pencil those in for me. Pencil them in, and then it's your job to follow up on that month saying, hey, it's the beginning of the month. You had me for these dates. Are these confirmed or not? And then XYZ, you go from there, right? This is a game changer for a lot of people. If you do an availability report monthly with your clients, you will stay booked all the time. Don't wait for the phone call to ring. You need to be proactive. You need to get yourself out there. You need to call your clients, anybody you want to work with. And then what you do is after a year, right, you say, okay, these clients are really good for me. These clients, not so much. You raise your rates, right? Then you get rid of some clients. You keep some other clients, and you keep sending that out, and you will stay booked. I promise. Instead of complaining about the gear, send them bits of information you think will help them grow, right? Instead of being like, oh, what was this shitty black magic, whatever, or I hate these Roland, man. Don't do any of that. Do your job, do it effectively, and go, man, have you seen this new product? Check out these switches, man. It does what this one does, and da-da-da-da. And make it sound encouraging and fun for that person to try to get something different that may work better, right? Oh, man, I wish we had this Black Magic 8-time mini because it would have been perfect for this setup, right? Dropping those little nuggets and letting that seed grow sometimes is way better than saying, oh, this is a piece of crap, man. You should get something else. That doesn't make you want to do anything. It doesn't make you want to do anything, right? If I tell you your setup, your vMix is crappy, okay, great. It works great for me, right? That's your mentality. But if I say, oh, man, vMix is really good. Have you seen that new Disguise program, though? Whoa, bro, next level. Well, let me check out Disguise real quick, right? Instead of complaining about a client you work for, try not to find a new client. This is a big one. I don't even know how to explain this for you. If you have a client you don't like, don't be public about it. It's definitely don't. We've done a show on this. Do not post on social media your disgruntledness. We're a very small niche community. It will be seen. It will be shared. It will be screenshotted. I talk to tons of business owners through text message, through stuff that I share to AV Educate that they don't share because they don't want people to know. Do not complain on social media about your client, about certain shows. It will get out there. I have a platform where I've done this. I've heard it come back to me from my own platform. I'm okay with it. I told that client to their face what I thought. I told it on social media. Be very, very careful when you do these things, unless it's a client you don't want to work with anymore, because those types of things, like I said, and I said multiple times, they do put a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Relationships are built on a foundation of mutual respect. And rule number 10, recreational drugs does not reflect a good image of responsibility and professional AV techs. Protect your reputation by never being the tech known for getting high on the job. Yeah. So real quick, instead of getting to work under the influence, calling another tech to take your place, definitely better to do that. Don't even just say, hey, I couldn't make it because of an emergency. Have someone replace you. Don't even explain that you were high, you got drugged, you were strung out, any of that stuff. Instead of talking about drugs in the workplace, highly recommend you don't do that. Try not talking too much. You never know who's listening to your conversation. Part of that story that I didn't mention was that the one who's paranoid is also he loves to smoke weed, and he reeked of that. So that was another reason we had to let him go. And instead of telling everyone your business and letting the world know, which again, that's up to you, keep your business to yourself. I don't need to know what kind of drugs you're doing, what day you did, how much you're doing it, who you're buying it from, any of that stuff, especially not on a job site. If I want to know, we could talk offline about that, or we could talk somewhere else, but not in front of other people, not in front of clients. No one needs to know that stuff. And final thing here, if people like you, they will listen to you. If people trust you, they'll do business with you. I'm going to leave that up just for a couple more seconds. I'm going to read it one more time to you. If people like you, they will listen to you. If people trust you, they'll do business with you. If anybody here is a freelancer who's doing business right now, you guys definitely know what this is about. If you're a freelancer starting a business, you will learn what this is about. If you guys don't know what this is about, you should learn about it. But people work with people that they trust. Plain and simple. This whole industry is word of mouth, and word of mouth means that there's trust being given somewhere, and it's how this all works out. Here's a prime example. Ed and me have never met in person. We've talked a couple times. We met virtually a couple times. We worked together. We started AV Tech Talks. We brought Chris on board. We brought Disa on board. That was because we trust each other mutually because of our conversations. So again, if people like you, they will listen to you. If people trust you, they'll do business with you. I think that wraps it up, right? So we won't do a recap. We'll just kind of be real quick. But if you guys have any questions or anything like that, I have no time. But if you have a question real quick, I'll answer it. I see. Thanks, Ryan, for the feedback here. I appreciate it, man. I didn't mean to take up time. Ryan's talk was also really good. I wish Ryan, me, or you know what we should do? Ryan, me, and Austin should get a podcast together and do a little chit chat back and forth. We could all tie our whole worlds together here, man. It was a great thing. But I hope you guys learned a lot from this talk today. Let's go to break real quick. I know we have about 7 more minutes to the next talk, so I'll let you go into break so Chris can get his stuff up and ready. And I'll see you guys in 7.